Hello, everyone. This is Ted Czech, Public Relations Manager for the International Foundation for Protection Officers. I'm here with Garry Bergin. Garry is a member of the Board of Directors for the IFPO UK and Ireland. He's also a commercial manager and security consultant for Manguard Plus, which is one of Ireland's leading private security service providers. Garry, how are you doing?
How you doing, Ted? How are you? Thanks for having me.
Very good, very good. So, yeah, I have to say that, of course, I've known about you for a while because of your association with IFPO UK and Ireland, and but I was on Facebook. I was on Facebook, and I saw some photos of you in a gi, which for those who don't know is well, to some it looks like pajamas, but so it's a martial arts uniform. And I was intrigued by that because I'm a longtime martial arts aficionado. Starting in the early '80s, kind of still in the Bruce Lee martial arts craze that happened that continued after his death. And so I've dabbled in a few things, but so I was very interested when I saw that photo. And I think you were breaking either some boards or maybe some concrete at one point. And
yeah, I think it was concrete. Yeah.
Okay, and then also another photo had you with a sword, which maybe well, it wasn't curved, so it wasn't a katana. It was more of a ninja toe, a straight Japanese sword. So I need to know all about that, but also in the grand scheme of things, I guess what I really wanted to delve into is the importance of martial arts or self-defense in physical security. How important is it to have some training of one form or another, if you are a security professional? So why don't we start there?
Yeah, okay, perfect. Well, look, to be honest, it's one of those, the $1 million question that comes up all the time is, what is the best style for security? And I always kind of say it's a stupid question, because it depends on the practitioner. Right. Not the style. I mean, I know guys who will, they'll say Krav Maga is, that's a lot of crap and this doesn't work. And that it depends on the practitioner. If you have a good practitioner, that's what works from my perspective. Myself, I did Mugendo kickboxing from when I was kind of 6, right up. I have a 7th degree black belt in Mugendo kickboxing, and when I was kind of 14, 15, I started doing some judo. So I have a 2nd degree black belt in judo. I have a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I have another belt in taekwondo. So I kind of taken my own piece from martial arts perspective, but I've always stayed true to Mugendo and judo. To be fair, from my perspective, what martial arts has done for me in security is it kind of increases your confidence. So in yourself and in your abilities to control and control the situation. So 9 times out of 10, I mean, look, I've done a lot of door work. I did door work for about 15 years. And, I can honestly say I never actually physically hit anybody in 15 years. I restrained them, but never physically hit anybody. Because you lose. Never struck anybody, because you lose straight away. The minute you hit someone, you've lost. Because, and I mean, look, I would hate to be doing the job now, because I mean, everybody has a video camera and there'll be a camera in your face and there's litigation and all that kind of stuff. Back when I did the door work, it was, the cameras were there. But I mean, I was blessed to be put in with guys that were really much older than me. There was a guy, Lenny Murphy, who I learned so much off. And I mean, I was 18, 19, dying to be a doorman, and you have to remember, I was a kickboxer. So all I wanted to do was kick and point. And all he said to me was, buddy, put your hands in your pockets and only take them out when I tell you to. And I mean, there was probably, Lenny would have been maybe 45. So there'd been about, 15, 20-year age gap, but he was a really, really good mentor to me. And I learned how to use my voice. And he always said to me, the last thing you have to do is swing digs. That's the last thing you do. So it's always avoid, defer, deflect, and control. That's how you deal with it. First thing, avoid it. If you can avoid conflict, you avoid it. Then second point is to defer it. So you defer it to a later stage. Listen, come back in an hour, we'll deal with it. Come back next week and we'll talk about it. Then you can deflect. Listen, we could be pretend to talk on our ears and, you know, listen, it's not us doesn't want to let in. The manager's on the camera, he's not letting you in. And then ultimately, if we had no choice, we would have to control the situation. We control the situation. So that was always the steps. It was never straight into swing digs, you know. But look, you do have to have those dynamic risk assessments that, no, I need to get involved straight away because it's to prevent somebody else getting injured.
Right. And,
You know,
would you say? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Garry.
No, go on.
I was just going to
No,
say.
go ahead.
So it sounds like it's something that you would advocate for anyone who is interested in security, any type of physical security, or is already involved in it.
Well, I mean, look, if you look at the benefits of martial arts, right? Okay, you know, you've increased posture, you've better movement, you've better speed, you've muscle memory. So through repetition, you gain increased speed, reaction power, and you can also move multi-directionally. Your mind is a little bit more relaxed, so you're not there for trouble. You're there as the peacemaker. You have much better coordination. Your spatial and situational awareness is much better. You know, react to someone else's coordination, particularly in judo. I mean, judo is like a game of chess. Like, I have friends who kind of go, you know, they watch judo on the Olympics and they go, geez, that's bullshit, man. You know, it's really boring, and, you know, it's really boring to watch. But it's because it's a game of chess. But if you see a white belt and a black belt in judo, it's probably the most amazing sport you'll ever see. Because of the throws and stuff like that. The big thing I've noticed is you get improved, you know, social skills and emotional intelligence when you train with people, because you understand, you know, I could be rolling with a guy tomorrow who's 20 kilos lighter than me. Tomorrow I could be rolling with a guy who's 20 kilos heavier than me. So it's understand that emotional intelligence piece as well. So by attending martial arts classes, you do become accustomed to direction and structure of the class, and you have to pay attention to the technique that you're being taught. So you kind of have to rid your mind of distractions and stuff. So indoor work or in being a bouncer, you have to be single-minded and focused on what you're dealing with, because you're not just looking after yourself. You're looking after the patrons in the bar you're working. You're looking after, you know, the assets of the bar, the reputation of the bar. There's all of that stuff that comes in. So it's kind of crucial to realise that that achieving your martial arts goals depends on you, right? No one else can do it for you. So it promotes that self-reliance and independence. And I've been blessed where I always worked in bars where there'd be 4 or 5 doormen. They were big bars where, you know, some guy working on his own, you know, that's where you are really clued in, you know. I mean, you know, discipline, you don't have to react to every little thing. You know, and as I said it before, BJJ and judo, it is like playing chess.
Right. Yeah, and I like what you said about confidence too, because you know, someone who may lack confidence would be, I would think, far quicker to fly off the handle on somebody, you know, make a rash decision, you know, rather than you know, having that confidence and being able to speak calmly and diffuse the situation. And there's a term, I don't know if it's used over there, but we over here in the States, you know, verbal judo is a term that's used, you know, where you can handle a situation just by what you say and the manner in which you say it.
I mean, there's a million theories out there. Batari's box is a clear one. You know, if you talk to someone, look, it's very hard to be nasty to someone who's been nice to you. You know, and the first thing I always say, I always go into a bar, if there's a row, I will go straight in, lads, listen, I want to sort this problem out. What is the problem? And if they don't want the problem sorted out, they are the problem. So then you say, you know, you make up some excuse. Listen, mate, it's really loud here. Can we go towards the door so I can hear you talk properly? Now you don't have to drag him to the door.
Right.
He's already at the door. You push him out the door and you shut the door. Simple. But that's years of experience. You don't learn that in a book anywhere. That's true. The years of training, and that's psychological handling of individuals. Like, work smarter, not harder. Just be smart about what you do and have the right people there. The other benefit is, from a martial arts perspective, is, you know, when a situation kicks off in a bar with 2 guys or whatever, the red mist has already descended on them. They're already in that flight or fight mode. So when you come on top of this situation, you're still not in that red mist, so you can make better decisions.
Right.
You get to make better decisions for it, and that's what I believe that martial arts does. It slows the whole process down. And don't get me wrong, there are nights where you go in and you do see the red mist, and it does kick off. And there's nothing worse than you're kind of nodding off at 2:30 in the morning, waiting on your shift to finish, and then there's a big row in the bar, serotonin flying through your body, adrenaline flowing through your body, and you're wide awake at 6 in the morning, going, "Why can't I sleep? Why can't I sleep?" It's incredible,
So Garry, for those who aren't familiar, describe the red mist that you just referred to.
The red mist is well, we refer to it over here. It's when all rationality just comes out and guys start swinging. And I've seen it before with really seasoned boxers would just start swinging windmill punches. Where if they were in a boxing ring, they would be more strategic about it. They just swing. There's no method to what they're doing. It's like that Krav Maga piece. Just get him away from me, get him away from me, get away from me. And there's no strategy to what they're trying to do. So that's what the red mist is.
Oh, okay, like seeing red.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's that red mist.
I think that's how we refer to it over here.
Yeah. So they just see red, they go, and then all of a sudden, and that's when the guy comes back an hour later after he's had a cup of coffee in McDonald's and he's apologizing to you. "I'm really sorry. It just came," and that it does happen,
Yeah. The other thing I was thinking about with martial arts is it depends what style you study, but there are certain techniques where you can like the come along. I don't know if you've heard of like the come along when you need to move somebody and you kind of have to trap their arm, and it might it urges them because it's a little bit of a pain there, but it doesn't injure them. So there's certain techniques that you can learn to detain or move somebody along, where you're not going to make yourself liable, for unfortunately for a lawsuit or something like that. Am I right?
No, absolutely, and it really does depend on that. And those pain and compliance locks that you're talking about, like the goosenecks and stuff like that,
right.
They work, but you have to be very careful using them. I've seen lads popping shoulders with hammer locks because they're just flinging it on. I've seen guys being knocked out with chokeholds, and I've done Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I do Judo. There are strokes, chokes, and strangles in Jiu Jitsu and in Judo, but I'd never do it in door work. I remember listening to evidence once in a high court, and the barrister kind of said something along the lines of, "Do you know what an anaesthetist is?" To the guy who was on the stand, and he said, "Yeah, do you know what he does?" And he puts you asleep and he wakes you up. And he said, "Yeah, he trains for 4 years to become a doctor. Then he does a year in the hospital. Then he trains for another 4 years to become an anaesthetist. He has the best drugs, the best equipment. Yeah, he has to sign you. He has to get you to sign a waiver, because he can't guarantee to get you back. So if a guy with 9 years training, all the best equipment, the best drugs, if he can't guarantee to get you back, you have no business putting a chokehold on anybody."
Very good point.
And that always kind of resonated with me. Be careful with chokeholds. But I mean, look, it's a lot of what you do can be done without the control part, the control piece. So that verbal judo, it works really well.
You, Garry, you told me in an email that you're an instructor for, I believe the course is called Responding to Threats and Violence. It's
Yes.
an industry standard. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So that course is broken into two parts. The important piece to kind of get across is that course. The first part is obviously the conflict management. So it brings into this is the verbal judo, how to stop it. It tells you basically around going to court. So everything you do has to be reasonable, proportionate, and justifiable. And the only person who's going to decide whether it's justifiable or not is a judge, if it goes to court. So everything you do, and the other thing is the second part of the course, all we teach is those breakaway techniques. So if somebody gets a hold of you, how to break away, whether you choose to re-engage, that's on you. We don't teach that.
Okay. Okay.
We teach the theory, we teach the law end of it, and we teach the breakaway techniques. So we've done everything so you can remove yourself from a physical violence piece. It's only if you have to re-engage with someone, that's down to your own specific training or that could be
who
a
you're
different
working
thing.
for, right? I would
100%.
imagine it's
100%.
incumbent upon security professionals to know what the parameters are, depending on the company that they're working for, and then the client, if the company has been hired by a client. Am I right?
Absolutely, and a lot of it that has come in the last couple of years has been, it's not even the physical damage or it's that reputational damage to the company you're working for. That has really come to the fore, and particularly with bars, litigation, and particularly in the corporate world. If you work for one of the big data centers, or they're not going to want to see you wrestling around the ground with some guy. That's a lot. It's that reputation, because everybody has a phone, everybody's out, and it's not a case of security guard from XYZ security company. It's security guard from whether it be Google or Facebook or whoever rolling around. It's that association with their brand, and it's that reputational damage that's done to their company.
That reminds me of something that happened to me I would say it's in the early 90s. I worked security for a hospital in Rhode Island, and myself and another security officer were called to an office within the hospital complex. There was a man that was acting unruly, and so we were called there by the folks who worked in this office. We had to take the guy to the ground. We felt we had to take him to the ground in order to restrain him properly. But then, as it turned out, some of those people that called us actually thought that maybe it had gone too far and had us investigated by the police.
Yeah.
And so then we had to explain ourselves to the police. And this was long before cell phones and all that. Like I said, early to mid 90s. But there was probably a concern with the hospital about their reputation.
Absolutely, but it's also the other patients in the hospital. It's a knock-on effect to and as I said earlier, when you're dealing with guys in a bar or in a hospital, you're not just dealing with your own safety or the assets of the bar. It's the safety of the patrons in the bar. And it is that, once you can stand in front of a judge and explain everything you do was reasonable, it was proportionate, and it was justifiable, you're fine. Once you can explain that and it's reasonable, you're fine.
And I think that was the conclusion that the detectives came to once we were interviewed by them.
Yeah,
we explained all that.
Look, you have the right to defend yourself. Everybody has the right to defend themselves. But defend themselves, even defending yourself, it has to be reasonable, justifiable, and proportionate.
Yeah,
it has to be. You can't go in and push me and then I lamp you in the head with a bar.
Yeah, that's not
proportionate. So it's not going to stand up. And I mean, it's only when you it's how you word it as well. I mean, when I'm dealing with someone at a door, I would always I talk with my hands. But it means that it's just that social awareness that I will talk with my hands, which means if I have to react, I'm pushing out. But when you're talking with your hands on a thing, it looks amazing to the CCTV. That's a defensive posture.
So it's not that you're part Italian or anything.
No.
That's what I say. Italians talk with their hands.
Yeah. But I do love pizza. But it looks amazing on a camera, on CCTV. So the judge sees you and your hands are out in front, which is completely defensive. It's a defensive posture. So it looks really good on CCTV. You can do just as much damage doing this as you can like this. But this looks really good on CCTV. So it's that awareness, of spatial awareness, that kind of emotional intelligence to talk with your hands. You don't put your back to a wall. Make sure you have the ability to move out of the situation if you have to. And you could have your back against the wall and your hands are up, and then he pulls a knife. You can't go anywhere but forward. So it's that spatial awareness as well that really, really kind of is massively important. And that's the stuff that you do get over the years in martial arts. That an instructor will say, "Okay, show me a knife attack," and then he'll pull a gun on you. and you have to defend it completely differently, and it's the not knowing as well. It's not something I'd like to do now, to be honest. The way the world has gone, you know.
Right. Now, I know you say you study Jiu Jitsu, and a lot of that is with when you're on your back.
Yeah.
And but I mean, there are some there are some techniques that are taught standing as well, because then you hear the argument, well, geez, if you unfortunately, if you're in a fight, you probably don't want to be on your back. You don't want somebody on top of you.
That's where judo comes in. You know, judo is, if you look at judo, is 80% on standing up, 20% on the ground, whereas jiu-jitsu is the reverse. Jiu-jitsu is 80% on your back and 10% on and 20% standing up. So to be fair, that judo piece keeps you on your feet, because, as I said earlier on, you get that increased flexibility, you get that better coordination, you understand how to move multi-directionally. And that's the judo piece is really, really good for that. Plus, judo is very good for tying guys up. Like if you're in close to a guy and you have him tied up in a bear hug, he can't punch you. Right. So the damage he can do is quite minimal. So all you have to do is get someone else control his head, so he's not biting or spitting at you, and walk him out the door.
Now, but jiu-jitsu, I can see the other side of it is, unfortunately, you might get taken to the ground. Somebody,
absolutely
does a double takedown on you or whatever, and you're there. So then it's what it's what to do if you do find yourself in that position.
Get back to your feet as soon as possible, because the last thing, and I've seen it so many times, a guy goes to the ground and his buddy comes in with a penalty kick and you get a kick in the face or something, or they stand on your head or something. So, I mean, one of the main rules doing door work or any security work is stay on your feet as much as you can. Stay on your feet. Don't go down.
Right. So, what would your advice be to someone who hasn't had any martial arts training, but would want some? What would you say to have try a few different styles?
Absolutely, try a striking style. So any of the Jeet Kune Do, your kickboxing, even boxing, is really good. So you have a base and striking style, and you have a grappling style of some sort, whether that be Greco-Roman wrestling, whether that be jiu-jitsu, whether that be judo. Once you have both, and I remember years ago, I mean, when UFC was only coming out and Ken Shamrock was on it, he came to Ireland and done a seminar, and we were all kind of Ken was a god back then, back in the Lions then, and we were kind of saying, look, what is the best style? What's the best style? And he said, I'm telling you now, if you can grapple and you can strike, you're halfway there. And Bas Rutten is exactly the same. If you can grapple and you can strike, you're halfway there.
Bas, who was a doorman himself years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a really funny guy. A very, very funny. I've met him a couple of times. A really, really, a naturally funny guy. But you could see he would never have to. He would never actually have to use what he knows because of his ability to talk.
Mm-hmm. Right, and you're talking about the combination of the striking and the grappling, and that's so true. I was reading a historical book, I think it was on catch wrestling, and there were decades ago in the United States, probably around the turn of the century, early 1900s, there were these guys they called combination men, because there were guys that could wrestle and they could box. And they combined the style, so they were called combination men, but they were rare. It wasn't everybody doing it.
And therein is where MMA started. That's the original mixed martial arts.
Well, yeah, you're right. And of course the catch wrestling is traced back to is it called Wigan? I think that it's in England. A place called Wigan.
That's right. Yeah.
Billy Riley, I think, was the guy who had the snake pit.
That's right. Yeah. And I mean, there's some fabulous doormen or bouncers, as you call them, in the UK. Right. Jeff Thompson and these guys who were phenomenally hard guys, but never actually had to do anything. Because on their reputation alone, they didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, there was a guy over here, One Kick Nick. Yeah, I think he operated out in like Las Vegas or
believe it or not, that one kick does work, and it makes. I mean, I remember years ago there was a guy he was on. I was working in a pub called the Butter Bar in Blanchardstown, and he pulled a knife, and I just hit him with a leg kick straight into the meat of his leg with my shin, and he dropped. And he didn't want any part of that. Now, if you're not used to being kicked, shin kicked in the side of the leg, that really, really hurts, and it really hits. And he could barely stand. And I said, "Look, you don't want any more of this." And he left the knife there and walked off.
Very convincing.
You know, it absolutely it does work, and you know, it could have been very different that night too. You know.
Well, Garry, so that's how you got your start, I guess, as a doorman. But here you are.
I started doing door work, and I used to work for a company called Lifestyle Sports at the time. So, they're like a sports clothing retailer, and I kind of worked my way in there. I was just selling runners. I ended up getting promoted to head office, worked in accounts for a while, and then I went into auditing and security auditing. And that's literally how I hit the back office end of it. But I used to do 3 nights a week and door work as well. So I had them got 2 jobs simultaneously.
Gotcha. All right, and well, now like I said, you're a commercial manager and security consultant for Manguard. So you've definitely moved your way up the the ladder, so to speak, in the security industry.
Yeah.
How did you go about doing that? What motivated you, and how did you? What were the steps that you took to do that?
So I kind of, the Security Institute of Ireland was really prevalent for me, and getting up those ladders. They have these kind of bite-sized courses that you can do. So I did a couple of those, kind of got that little bit of confidence, and I then decided I wanted to do a master's. So I remember I was talking to a couple of people, and there was one guy who I'm not particularly fond of, but he said to me, you wouldn't be able for a master's. Why would you not? Why wouldn't you just do a degree? And to me, the red mist descended. I said, well, I'm definitely going to do it now.
Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. And look, I graduated second in my class.
Nice.
On my master's course. When I finished that, I kind of did the CPP.
Okay.
So I did the CPP program, finished that, and then I went into my boss, who's Sean Hall from Manguard Plus, and told him I wanted to do a professional doctorate or PhD. So I think that conversation lasted about 90 seconds, and he said, "Yeah, fair enough. Off you go." So I'm in my second year now. I have my review for my second year in my doctorate, which is
fantastic.
And my thesis is going to be designed on designing security courses internationally. So that it's designing a syllabus, particularly around close protection, because that dovetails in with what my dissertation for my master's was, which was a critical analysis of the SIA close protection syllabus. So in my master's, I critiqued one, and then in my PhD, I'm telling you how it's done right. So that's the
okay. All right. Yeah. So it they're connected there. As you say, dovetails. So Manguard, they were really supportive of you in this in your.
I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for Manguard. It's that simple. They paid for everything. The support was always there. My boss, Jonathan Pym, he read everything I submitted for college. He read and critiqued for me. And we have some serious players in Manguard. We've ex-special forces, we have ex-assistant Garda commissioners, and these are chiefs of police. So there's a really, really good team assembled. So it's really good to be able to dip in and dip out with those guys. So yeah, look, I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for Manguard and Sean Hall.
That's great. So it was just it sounds like it was just little by little,
listen,
what's the next rung on the ladder, and then just kind of
pretty much going, And that's kind of where IFPO came in, because I was kind of looking to kind of, okay, look, I'm at PhD now, let's start paying it back. So that's how IFPO came in. So what I did was I found IFPO literally by chance, through my course. And it was, you know, you have your basic guard here. I see your CPO, then your CSSM, then you're going on to do the ACES qualifications. So your CPP, your PCI, your PSP. Then you can go on and do your master's degree, or your bachelor's or your master's, and then you're going on to your. So there's a really, really good career progression there now. And look, I'm delighted to say, literally on Friday, we now have 25 CPOs in Ireland, whereas we had 0 last month. Oh, sorry, 6 months ago, we had none.
25. Wow.
Yeah, so we now.
There was the class that I did a post on, but I guess
right.
not everybody was there and present at that when that photo was taken.
No, there was 15 had certified on Friday. We had run a second course.
You've already done a second class.
We've done a second class when we had 15 passed. It's just literally from it's just gone from strength to strength, to be honest.
Oh, that's great. That is great. Great news.
Yeah.
Excellent. So what would you say to somebody who wants to start out? They have, you know, basically no experience, but they're interested in security. What would you tell them?
My recommendation to anyone at the moment is to get your security license. Go online, buy the IFPO CPO book, read it. When you're finished reading it, read it again. When you're finished reading it, read it again. When you finish reading it, read it again. Mm-hmm. Read a couple of, you know, the likes of, you know, Paddy Roach, who you did a session with.
Yeah.
I mean, Paddy had no experience in the academia world. I mean, that guy is a machine. He just literally took the book and ate it. And but I mean, the results spoke for themselves, Ted. You know, he got 90%. There was guys with PhDs and master's degrees didn't get what Paddy got.
Yeah. Wow.
And Paddy is now literally he's literally he's starting. I think he's just started his master's degree.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's phenomenal, and it was literally, I think the CPO was just that kick up the backside and the bit of confidence he needed to go, you know, I actually can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, look, there's a lot of us around them that have masters that have been through the process, and that will give them a hand. You know, you've Paul Kellett, you've Damien McDonough. You know, there's a lot of people in Ireland that will give him a hand, and help him. Look, I can say I'm not sitting here on my own merit. A lot of people helped me get where I am, as I'm sure you're exactly the same. There's nobody sits there on their own. Everybody needs a hand somewhere. So I mean, look, I'm at the stage now where it's pay it forward and start helping the next set of people.
So stay motivated, and like have little victories that will push you on to the next one, and find a mentor.
Absolutely, and there's so many of them, and there's so many great organizations like IFPO, ACES. They have these mentor programs, and the Security Institute in the UK. They have these mentor programs, and they can buddy you up with someone who does want to pay it forward, that does want to bring you along, and you know, just get the right person, and they will help you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what Mike Hurst said to me the other day. He said, like, with the 15 people that just passed the course, he said, you know, you were like a proud father typing those emails like that. And I said, yeah, absolutely, because you know you've helped someone get an international qualification.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great. That's fantastic.
Which is really cool.
Well, Garry, thanks so much for all your time. I really appreciate it. And
no problem, Ted.
I'm sure this video, you know, will be of help to a lot of people. Whether it's the martial arts or whether it's just they're interested in the security industry in general. I really appreciate your time.
No problem. Thanks so much, Ted.
Okay. Talk again soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.